playing with spoons. In my early childhood, I had a big and cheerful family. Mom had 3 sisters and 2 brothers. They would come with their families to their father's house for holidays or weekends, and a whole crowd of us, cousins and sisters, would gather, and we had a great time. When this story happened, I was about 6 or 7 years old, my sister was 9, and my 2 older brothers were about 12 years old. I think it was the New Year holidays, because we spent a few days visiting our grandparents. One evening we watched a folk ensemble concert, where guys in Kosovaratki famously beat time with wooden spoons. I still can't figure out what kind of mass madness it was, but before we even finished watching the concert, we ran to the grandfather's cupboard in the kitchen, where we knew for sure that several wooden spoons had been stored since time immemorial. Either the excitement was so great, or maybe it was because there weren't enough spoons for everyone, and of those that were enough, barely 2 pairs were decent, the rest were substandard, so the musical numbers often alternated between arguments and hilarious brawls. Adults reacted very indifferently to such fun. The only one who approved of it was Grandpa. On the very first evening, he declared himself a virtuoso in playing with spoons and was happy to teach us how to stack spoons correctly, how to hit them to make a loud cracking sound. I remember how, under his guidance, we sang songs together, playing on spoons, so we whiled away all the remaining long winter evenings. Then the holidays ended, and we were taken home. When we came to visit Grandpa the following weekend, we immediately rushed to the buffet for spoons, but they weren't there. When my brother asked, "Where are the spoons?" my grandfather said dryly, "They've made a fool of themselves, and they will find something else to do." But Grandma was not so restrained. "Oh, and we suffered a lot of fear because of your spoons." On the very first night after our departure, Grandma woke up to a loud knocking coming from the kitchen. Grandma listened for a while, trying to identify the source of the knocking, but then realized it was spoons. It's a very distinctive knock, there's no mistaking it. They knocked slowly, then quickly, then very slowly again, but it was not a rhythmic knock, but a monotonous one, and he gave me the creeps, because there was no one to knock. He and his grandfather were alone in the big house. Grandma woke Grandpa up. "Do you hear the knocking?" Grandfather immediately assumed that the cat was naughty, and went to the kitchen to see what was the matter. When he reached the kitchen, Grandfather realized that the knocking was coming from the living room, the adjacent room to the kitchen where we were playing. Going into the living room, he heard a knock behind his back, i.e., again in the kitchen. When he returned to the kitchen, he realized that the knocking had moved back into the living room. Spitting, the grandfather returned to the bedroom, and lay down on the bed with his nose to the wall, muttering to his grandmother, "They'll knock and stop, go to sleep already," and fell asleep, or pretended to be asleep, and Grandma was shaking with fear until the cocks, then only the knocking stopped. The next day, Grandma took countermeasures. She went around the whole house with candles, prayers and holy water. On the second night, the knocking came again, but this time it came from a distant room, somehow slowly, dejectedly, interrupted for a long time after each grandfather's unprintable tirade. In the afternoon, Grandma brought 2 neighbors and a fellow villager who had been expelled from the seminary to the rededication of the house. Grandpa took out all the wooden spoons from the cupboard and burned them in the yard. I don't know which of the measures taken proved effective, but the third night was spent in peace and quiet.